We've hit 200,000 followers on TikTok, and I think it is time for me to finally do that get to know me video I have been promising. Hi, I'm Onezwa, and I make meals using items that I've grown, raised, or foraged. I'm 29 years old. I'm not married. It is not in my life plan. My name, loosely translated, means they are now satisfied. They being my clan. And I think before I was born, my ancestors were like, something's missing. And then I came along and they were like, yep, that's the one we're going to lay all our problems on. And so I was perfectly named. Am I open to hosting? No. This is my family home. I don't have the capacity to host people. My family lives here, and me hosting people would be akin to you having strangers in your house where your child lives. So, no, I'm not open to that. I'm not a chef. I don't have any formal culinary training. I don't have any training of the sort, to be quite honest. But I do want to go to culinary school, and it is definitely in my life plans. I studied maritime studies. I was in the merchant navy, not to be confused with the naval force. I worked on container ships, so I'm a sailor because you never stop being a sailor. And I held a Class 3 Officer of the Watch Certificate of Competence, which means that I could be able to hold a navigational watch without supervision in a ship of any size and in any waters. Would I go back? Not to cargo ships. I would probably consider going back to passenger ships, cruise liners, if my child were to come with me. When did I start cooking? I have always cooked. I think I have a great palate, like great taste buds. I can tell good food from bad food. So I've always been able to cook, and I've always loved food. In 2019, when I was pregnant, I started craving food from home and from here home, food that my mother made. And that's when I started taking my cooking seriously, because I wanted to recreate the foods that she'd made for us in the way that she'd made them. And once I got the hang of that, I started challenging myself a bit more and sharing my cooking on Instagram. Why this lifestyle? So my parents were born here, literally a village apart. They grew up here. Most of my siblings were born here, like the youngest of us were born here. We were raised here. This has always been my home. We didn't have a home in the city and then we'd come back here for the holidays or to visit grandparents. No, this was literally home. I only left during the school term, and then when schools closed, I was back here. So this is all I have ever known. And I've mentioned before that we're very far from town, so we had to grow our own food. We had to have livestock. We had to forage, especially for seafood, so that we can get our protein intake. So these are all things that we had to do, and this is what everybody around here did, and a lot of people still do. So what I do isn't very unique. And also being a foodie, when I came back home, I really wanted to go back to this kind of lifestyle instead of buying stuff, because it feels so good to cook with something that I've grown. It gives me a lot of pride. It gives me a lot of joy. And because of how far I am from town again and how small my town is, I don't get a lot of ingredients that I would like to cook with. So whatever I can grow, I do grow. Why did I move back home? It's easier to tell people that I moved back home because I lost my job. Because when I talk about spirituality, people feel the need to tell me about why what I believe in is right or wrong. And personally, I never speak on people's beliefs because I don't really care. You could believe in air and I wouldn't care as long as it doesn't harm anybody else. I really don't care. But people don't have that same mentality, rather. So the reason I moved back home is that I have a spiritual gift. I have an ancestral calling. So for context, I moved to Durban in 2018. And before that, I had always just lived at home. This includes when I was working and when I was studying. And 6 months before I moved in 2020, I had a strong yearning for home. I was constantly dreaming about being in my maternal grandparents' house or being in my bedroom. And I just wanted to be at home. And in September of 2020, I packed up every single thing that I owned and I put in a truck and I moved home. And this was possible because I worked remotely at the time, so it was easy for me to do. And would I move back to the city? I don't want to. I don't really want to. Moving back would mean losing a lot of the things that make my life so peaceful and so fulfilling for me. One, I would lose all of the space that I have. I would lose the quiet. I would lose the stillness. I would lose the community, the village that I have, the support structures that I have, the free food that I can get everywhere. So I would lose all of that. So it's not something that I look forward to. I wouldn't want to, but it will happen. Unfortunately, I can't avoid it. What do I do for a living? Do I have a 9 to 5? Do I have a dream job? No, I don't have a dream job. I don't have a 9 to 5, and I don't do anything for a living. And so follow-up question will be, so how do you pay your bills? I don't have bills. I live at home. Do I want a job? I don't really think so. I don't think so. I'm quite content with where I am with my life and how I'm living my life right now. It's a very peaceful and very intentional life. Everything that I do it simply for the fact that it brings me joy. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. Right now, I am happy where I am, and a lot of people don't understand that. I've seen that in the comments. A lot of people don't feel sorry for me that I live here, and I want to assure you, I want to be here. Who is my biggest inspiration? When it comes to my cooking, but apart from my mother, who was great, she was just great, it would be Anthony Bourdain. I am a storyteller. I tell this with each video that I post. I'm telling the story of that meal, how it started and how it came to be. And with my videos, I am telling stories of food. I'm educating people about foods that they may not have been aware of that are around them, or educating them on how to prepare certain foods. I'm also sharing my culture. I share Xhosa dishes. I share lifestyle, Xhosa lifestyle, rural Xhosa lifestyle. And I think I bring awareness to issues such as food insecurity and our impact on the environment, and just taking better care of our environment. And I think what Anthony Bourdain managed to capture in Parts Unknown is the story of the food. Every dish is inspired by a person, a place, culture, and even societal struggles. So to be able to see that inspired me so much in how I approach my storytelling when it comes to food. So Anthony is a huge influence in what I do and how I do it. And yeah, if I were to have a TV show, I'd definitely have something like Parts Unknown. It's always more. There's always more than just the food in front of you. There's the people, there's the stories. And I want to tap into that. I want to immerse myself into that. I want to immerse myself fully into the culture. Would I open a restaurant? Am I going to have a pop-up? Do I do private dining situations? And not now. Not now. I fully believe in the right timing. A lot of people think that you should strike while the rod is hot, or that you're wasting your talents if you're just waiting around for the right time. And because to them, me not doing these things means that I am just waiting around. They don't see the work that I am putting in, and a lot of work that I'm putting in right now is internal. Like it's healing work, in the sense that when I reopened Emandulo, it was because I had spent the past year working on my fear of failure. I couldn't have opened Emandulo without the coping mechanisms that I have now. And understanding that businesses have problems, you'll have issues, mistakes will happen, and not feeling like me making a mistake in my business is a reflection of me or means that I am a failure. So having those coping mechanisms have helped Emandulo happen. Learning how to cope with other things that I struggle with. For instance, being able to read 5 negative comments on my video means that I will be able to read 100 bad reviews on my TV show, or gaining the confidence to have people eat my food and knowing that I'm not just an imposter and that I'm good at what I do will help me deal with negative reviews. If I had a restaurant, it will help me deal with people not liking my food. So I need to work on these things in order for these things to fall into place. And I believe that when they do fall into place, it will be the right time, because there will be people to support me, whether it's 2 years from now or 5 years from now. I don't have to rush it. I don't have to rush my healing. I'm not going to heal in a bubble, obviously. It's not to say I am going to be healed first before I can do these things, because you can never be fully healed. But I do want to learn the coping mechanisms to be better at handling all of these situations. I hope that makes sense. So in essence, it is going to happen. I'm just not rushing. I'm waiting on the universe, I'm waiting on God, and I'm waiting on my ancestors to make it happen whilst I work on myself. Who takes my videos? Well, I use a tripod mostly. Actually, I use a tripod all of the time when I'm shooting indoors. But when I'm shooting outside, my family helps out a lot, but I am still responsible for the angles, making sure that the lighting is perfect. So I'm a producer, I'm a videographer, I'm a content director, I'm an editor, I am the talent, I am everything, I do everything. Since 2019, I've always used my iPhone 11 Pro. It works fine, the camera works fine. I will not change it up until it literally falls apart, because I don't want to add to the strife and struggles of the people of Congo by changing my phone unnecessarily. Where do I get inspiration for the dishes that I make? A lot of what I make is actually inspired by the things that are around me. So sometimes I'll see something and I'm like, what can I make with that? And then I start doing research. Sometimes I'm craving something, but I don't have the right ingredients around me. So I take that and I make it work, excuse me, for what I am craving. This has really forced me out of my comfort zone. It forces me to find new approaches and do things in different ways, which I really appreciate. I think that I am so much better. I'm such a better cook for it because I know how to improvise now. I know how to improvise. Like, I am so good at improvisation. I am so good at it. Like, yeah. So it's been really nice to push myself that much and challenge myself that much. Is everything just there? Like, is everything that I'm using to cook just around? Yes, it is. When I step out of my gate, if I go left or right, 100 meters in, I am in the forest where I get all of these wild fruits and all of these things. I can get medicinal plants. I can get plants to cook with. So everything is just here. some people seem to think that I travel far to get what I cook with. I don't. Everything is within a walking distance. What am I most grateful for? Most grateful for my child. He is the sweetest and the kindest and the most gentle boy I have ever met. He is just wonderful. He is just wonderful. I'm not saying that because he's mine. He's just a really good person. And that smile is like the sun rising in my heart every single time I see it. He is the best thing that has ever happened to me, and I'm really thankful that God has entrusted me with his life. I'm also grateful for my community. Yes, the people that helped me raise him. It's so lovely to be here and to have all of the support, because when I was living in the city, I was very lonely. And a lot of the times I was depressed, and because I was working from home, I didn't get to see people all that much. So now I have all of these people that are constantly dropping by, constantly bringing me things. Like it's really nice to have that. So I do have a book. The book is part 1 of a 7-part series, and the way that I structured the books is that I wanted the first book to be for people who can't boil an egg, literally. I wanted to teach cooking in the way that I taught myself how to cook, which is from the very beginning, like from scratch. I wanted to teach the very basics and then build up from that, because I feel like the foundation is very important. And what people want or expect from the book is the recipes that I'm cooking now, and they're not in the book. So I think a lot of people will probably catch up in book 4 and 5, which is fine. And yeah, that was a lot of talking.